Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Weekend Winners in association with Bet Victor, your weekly go-to show to find you those big Saturday winners. And again on this episode we have another big show for you because we're looking ahead to some really competitive action at Ascot and Newmarket. As well as that, we're also going to be taking an early look ahead to the QE2 on Champions Day at Ascot in a couple of weeks' time. And I'm going to be doing that in the company, for the usual company, of Declan Ricks and Sam Boswell. Lads, I have to start this by first and foremost congratulating the pair of you two. Ace Impact. Dec, you were both confident about him. I begrudgingly tip my hat to you.
Yeah, fab for a reason, isn't it? Yeah, no, he was good. That was a silky smooth performance. I really liked it. I've got to admit, a couple of times when he's run this year, I've been on holidays, so I didn't see his antics pre-race. I was getting quite worried kind of watching the build-up to the race, but supposedly that's just him, and, you know, the gears he has is just pretty incredible. So, yeah, and great to see Cracksman with a proper horse who was one of my favourite kind of horses of the more recent time. So, yeah, good on Ace Impact.
No, it really was, wasn't it? So, Sam, I mean, Paris Longchamp in general last weekend was just fantastic, wasn't it?
Yeah, and whilst we got that right, we did get Trushan quite wrong. We must hold our hands up on that one. But like I say, it was a fantastic weekend of racing. Great to see, and anyone that went was spoilt by the weather. And yeah, it was a really satisfactory renewal of I think it's fair to say, a good version of the Arc. Westover, obviously, slightly sad to see that he's had to be retired, but what a brilliant horse he's been for Connections, and be interesting to see going forward what comes out of the race.
Certainly so, and hopefully we get some more potential clashes then down the line. But we must crack on with this weekend's action, see if the lads can repeat their feat from their big win on last week's show. But before we get cracking on, a reminder as ever to please do gamble responsibly. Our tips are not guaranteed to win, but we will still do our best to point you in the right direction. Right, our first race, because we begin at Ascot with the Group 3 Cumberland Lodge Stakes for the 3-year-olds and over a mile 4 at 2:25. A really intriguing renewal here, Dec. So would you like to kick us off, please?
Yeah, this is a good race. There's some really likeable horses in here. Al-Azi as well, Israr, Al-Karim, they're all Claymore, you know, Royal Ascot winner. This is a good race. I'm really looking forward to it. Again, I always like to start kind of with tactics and that. I think we'll have hopefully a sound run race. I think Al-Karim will go forward and he will be followed, kind of probably kept honest by Claymore on Pasilio. But I think that kind of nice gallop, I think the race will set up nice for Al-Azi. I like this horse. I really like him. He's been called a few names in his career, but I think it's been pretty harsh. Look, I've no doubt the gelding operation definitely helped him, but I think he's always had a good attitude, this horse. I think probably what's caught him out a couple of times as a younger horse is the 12 furlong trip, and he's just been outstayed in a couple of races, but people kind of think, like to say he dogged it or whatnot, but I think he's been in good order this season. He's going to have this race run to suit. I've got to say, I thought he was gone at the game in his first start of the year in the Fred Archer Stakes, you know, trailed in a long way last, but since then he's bounced back to form. The Haggis team have done an unbelievable job, and you know what, I think he missed the game because he's looked such a happy horse in his last 3 runs. He's been on great terms with himself, travelling for fun. He's been brilliant at Newbury, and he was good again at Haydock, winning a tactical race coming from a very poor position. And then last time out he was unlucky, I think, with the way the track was riding at Leopardstown and Irish Champions Festival. You know, a lot of those horses on the pace were doing very well, and he got a little bit out of his ground. But this race should set up nicely for him. It was a tough race. There's lots of good horses in there, but I thought the penalty structure of the race set up well for him. He's going to get rate from Israr, but the real key to his chance in beating these horses who are proper stayers is his class and his pace. He's got pace to burn, so if Jim Crowley can deliver him late, I think he'll take a good bit of beating, although 6-4 is definitely as short as I'd like to go because this is a good race.
Yeah, Al-Azi then for Dec at the head of the market, but just making the point there. Wouldn't like to see him getting too much shorter though. Sam, where were you looking?
I tried to take the favourite on here, and maybe it's my bookmaker hat, but it tends to be how I work backwards for in these races where it does look super competitive, but kind of managed to pick holes in everything. You know, Al-Karim does want a bit more ease in the ground. Like traditionally, you think this time of year be getting it. Obviously, at the moment, we're getting warmer weather. Ascot, I think, will end up at least good, if not, you know, slightly quicker. I kind of thought to myself, so that kind of tempered my enthusiasm for him. Israel was a really nice winner of the Bet Victor London Gold Cup going back a bit, but I was left too disappointed with that run last time out at Kempton. Like, you know, going off second favourite there and running the way he did, I just felt there was a bit of a concern. He could well bounce back here, but I didn't want to take the price. And, you know, the favourite was very impressive, I thought, albeit ending up second at Leopardstown last time out. And I still think local knowledge at that weekend is so key when you look at how the UK jocks got on in comparison. And I'm prepared. I think 6-4 is about as short as I'd want to go. And I think it might ease out a little bit. It is competitive enough here. And I just couldn't find anything to take him on with. So that's kind of why...
You kind of do hope with him people are going to still have that view of him being, you know, a bit temperamental and whatnot, and he'll drift out and get a price. So, and as well, we probably should mention the Hamdan family have got 2 in there, Shadwell, and he's the choice of Jim Crowley.
Yeah, so hopefully then Jim has chosen correct, because all three of us then with Al-Azi, we're going for the hat trick again then of selections, because yeah, I still think that that's a pretty fair price about him. I'm basically backing him to run his race, where, as you said, Dec, previously, people are still associating, I am myself, with those former quirks and those disappointing runs when he was well supported previously. But he's just been thriving of late in those 3 starts where, as you say, 3 starts back then, he won at Newbury despite market weakness in listed company. Backed it up at Haydock in a Group 3 where he was far more value than the winning margin even suggested there. And last time out, as you both said, I thought he was really unlucky, or ran a mighty race considering he was completely against the pace bias at Leopardstown, Adelaide River, Maydor, and also he was carrying a penalty in that contest for £3 as well. So yeah, basically we're backing him to just give his running.
I think we started last week's show all on Emily Dickinson, so I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but we should find out.
No one remembers that, I'm sure. I'm sure everyone will have forgotten that one, so we're going again anyway. So all 3 of us with Al-Azi. Do let us know your own selections for our first race at Ascot there in the comments section below. Now, before we move on to our next race, if you are enjoying the show, and we really hope that you are, a reminder to like and subscribe to the At The Races YouTube channel, and also hit the bell notification so you never miss an episode. Right, on to our next contest. This is the Group 3 Ben Goff Stakes for the 3-year-olds and over 6 furlongs at 3 o'clock. A pretty open contest, really. Comanche Falls heads the way. I mean, he's just had a great season, hasn't he? But Sam, what is the play?
Yeah, he has had a great season, hasn't he? 3rd in this race last year, and I understand why he's our market leader, but I kind of went through it and I just wanted something at a bit of a price, given I felt he was short enough at 3-1. And I've come down on Rumstar, who is a bit of an outsider here at 14-1 for Johnny Portman. The 3-year-old is an intriguing runner, been having to compete at, you know, the highest level, and the best result this season he produced was a 5th at Royal Ascot in, you know, a race that was won by Shaquille and really seemed to look like a very, very good race at the time. Since then, he's been a little bit disappointing. You know, he unseated at Goodwood just coming out of the stalls, and then, like, you know, last time he's checkered history, Dec, I think it's fair to say. But
I think I'm laughing because I put him up that week.
Oh, that's
well, that's why he unseated in a flat race.
Good news doesn't have Declan's £5 penalty this week. But I just felt the better ground that we're going to get is going to be really helpful here. I would like to see the yard in slightly better form. They've had a few places, but not had a winner for a little while. But I just thought it was curious that this horse, you know, has been kept on the go and goes down to, I think, a grade I think you can expect the horse to be performing a little bit better. And they've danced all the big dances this season. I kind of just thought this is a good opportunity for him. I thought at the price he was just a shade overpriced. It's one that you could see a bit of shrewd each way money for in a field that did look competitive.
It did, didn't it? And about 14-1, I think we were showing there. So good each way play in what looks a wide open Group 3 deck.
Yeah, no, it's incredibly open, and to make it even worse, you know, I was getting big Run DMC vibes of this race because it's tricky. There is no pace on in this race, and it's a field full of closers. And the other thing to make it even trickier is the stalls are on the stand side. So if they do stay down the stand side and race there in a race that has no pace, it could get unbelievably messy. So I kind of wanted a horse at a price as well, similar along the lines with Sam, and I actually came down on Pink Crystal from the William Haggis yard. Look, there's a couple of horses in here who are carrying penalties. She doesn't. She's also going to get the £3 sex allowance, which I think will help. And at this time last year, she really hit her strap. She improved. And I'm hoping, again, we're kind of coming into that time of years where fillies and mares can really thrive. And I hope it's going to be the case with her again. She's had 3 runs this season, so she's coming in here fresh. I thought she was quite unlucky in her first 2 runs at York. Just the couple Cup, 2 races developed away from her. She was on the wing both times. Last time out at Ayr, she was much better, had a much more kind of straightforward run, got a bit of cover, but she did get out of her ground early, and I thought to come back and win so well, I thought it was a good performance. The other thing as well, I would say, I was worried about her on the ground that day. I had a bit of juice in the ground at Ayr at the Western meeting there. She's a really, really fluent moving horse and not over big. I think getting back on a quicker surface will really suit her. So yeah, with her kind of coming in here in form in an open race at a price, representing a top team, it's going to be Pink Crystal for me. I've got my William Haggis pyjamas on here this week, haven't I?
The Henry Candy ones,
yeah,
long gone.
The candy ones are gone. They might come back for a run to freedom in a couple of weeks, but at the moment we're sticking with William Haggis.
William Haggis, PJs to the fore. Now, Dec, on both of our races so far, you said about the ground at Ascot, where, it wouldn't be the show without a weather watch, would it? So we have got obviously a dry forecast throughout the day into tomorrow, hot temperatures tomorrow as well. And they were listing it as good ground then in the week with a little bit of soft in it. But I'm not expecting rattling ground, given how much water they've been putting on Ascot throughout the duration of the summer. Obviously, the morning dew as well, autumn conditions. But I was still expecting good, if not good to firm in places probably here. So I think quicker horses probably
Yeah, I think that the straight track would be good, probably with a little bit of firm in it. And maybe just worth pointing out for kind of viewers, the going stick reading on the round course was quite high. I think the round course probably won't ride as soft as the going description says. But as ever, live on Sky Sports Racing on Friday and Saturday, we'll get our clues.
The company man, yeah, very
Absolutely.
well done. Now, you've both gone for bigger price horses, and I've thought likewise about this race, where I love Comanche Falls. He's been an absolute stalwart this season. Evidently, he's the one to beat, but we always try and find betting angles where we can. And the betting angle for me in this race was Jumbie, who's a horse that has just been completely dismissed in the market here on the back of those 2 latest starts after previously showing good form when winning at Haydock in a Group 3 and then second in another Group 3 at Newmarket. He didn't really have much of a chance in the Group 2 City of York. He was a big price of 40 to 1 that reflected that. Soft ground was totally against him last time out at Doncaster. He was never at the races, never out of last place in the Group 2 Park Stakes, dropping in grade here, back to a Group 3, and I really think he is very much a Group 3 performer as well, so this should really suit him. Down in trip, but over this course and distance, I'd imagine he should be fine with it, and better ground should really suit him a lot better. So I was just a bit confused about his price, given that he was the second highest rated in here. So I thought that it was a good opportunity, as is plenty of race at this time of year, so the bigger price horse with Jumbie. So Jumbie for me, Dec.
Pink Crystal for me, please.
Sam.
All about Rumstar.
Again, do let us know your own selections in what is a wide open contest there at Ascot as we move on to our next race again at Ascot. Now, we have a race that weekend winners may as well be sponsoring. We have so many characters in here that we have mentioned time and time again on the show. It is the Challenge Cup Heritage Handicap, I should say, for the 3-year-olds and over 7 furlongs at 3.35. 6 to 1 joint favourites we had at the head of the market as of this morning. So, this really is a betting heat, Dec. Where did your pin land?
Yeah, this is competitive, and again, it's going to be definitely worth watching the racing on Sky on Friday and Saturday just to see where they're going on the track. I've got to be honest, I've really struggled with the straight track at Ascot this year. Every time I've had a bet in a race, it always feels like I've been on the wrong side, even though the track seems to be playing quite fairly. But I thought this was an interesting race to have a bet in. Look at those horses at the top of the market there. Popmaster, Baradar and Fresh. All horses who probably like to get their toe in a little bit. I think the ground's going to be getting quicker and quicker as the days goes on. And then if you go further down the field, then there's lots of kind of old exposed handicappers in here. But I came down on Hickory in the end. Now look, he needs to improve, absolutely no doubt, and he is a 5-year-old. But I'd say he's a pretty atypical 5-year-old. He's only had 9 career starts, and his last 2 runs have probably been his career bests, and they've come here at Ascot. This day again, I think in the international behind Baradar was a big run, because he got quite a bit out of his ground early, and he had to make up a good bit of ground kind of late in the race. And the pace of this race kind of had a gently kind of building pace. I think it suited those horses on the front end. And then last time out again at Ascot, he ran well behind Quinault and Popmaster, but the pace was a lot slower that day. I thought Quinault got a brilliant ride from Luke Catton that day. Really tactical race, but that doesn't suit Hickory, because he's a horse who travels strongly and he probably doesn't quicken, he just lengthens. So I'm expecting a good bit more pace on tomorrow, which will suit him. And I just hope from the draw in stall 2 that will suit as well for the James Fanshawe team, who are in good order at the moment. So yeah, it's going to be Hickory for me, please.
And like I say, he's drawn completely next to the right horse to give him that toe into the race
Yeah,
as well.
hopefully,
so
anyway.
Hopefully. Well, we'll see at least
will.
anyway. But Hickory for Deck, Sam, what were you thinking?
Well, Declan said 3 words that sort of triggered in my mind: older exposed horses, older exposed handicappers, and bless him, ticks that box for me. I've gone to a horse that I think has been there, done it, and this season obviously not got a win to his name, but has run some respectable races down to a mark of I think 99 now, dropped a couple of pounds, and sorry, I should say I just think these horses that go through up and down, up and down, up and down. He's an old stager. He knows what he's doing. He's a brilliant horse. He's got Hayley Turner booked to ride, who, let's be honest, you know, Ascot handicaps really are her thing. She's a few off 1,000 winners, so best of luck to Hayley in that search. Hopefully she gets it before the end of the season. David Simcock in fantastic form as well, 31% strike rate. You know, the last 2 runs you look back at, the Ascot 7th did have some excuses, got a little bit caught, and then last time out at Newmarket as well, not the quickest away. Do need to really see the horse hit the lids this time. Fingers crossed Hayley's right on the button with this horse and can kick him out the gate. But I just thought at the prices, I think he's a 20-1 shot. It just felt a little bit big where I want to be having an each way stab. And as Declan's alluded to, so many in here are arriving here and probably priced as if this ground is proper autumnal ground, which it isn't. Barrados's a great example of that. Love the horse, but if it was even good to proper soft ground, I'd be all over him and he'd probably be half the price. But I just thought this horse, versatile on the ground, ticks plenty of boxes for me and can give an each way run.
And you draw next to Deck's selection as well, so going low for the pair.
Not only in the race, but on the show as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Always together, the pair of you two. My horse isn't too far away from the pair of yours. Now, Sam, you've teed it up beautifully for me because he's gone against everything you've just said for the autumnal ground. And it's Biggles, who, again, we may as well be having on this show alongside us.
I have to get you a Biggles t-shirt.
Yeah.
I know. I would actually love that. I love those silks.
There's your Christmas present sorted.
Thanks very much. I'll hold you to it. And especially if Biggles goes and wins this as well, because I wouldn't want him to get any shorter than that, given the ground concerns. But he's a proper 7 furlong specialist. He's another horse where I'm in a very forgiving mood today because I can forgive his latest start. He was only 5th of 7 in a Newbury listed race, but he travelled into the race really well, ended up fading out of things. So I'm just putting that down to the quick turnaround from the previous weekend's run at Doncaster just 6 days prior. 15-day turnaround this time, back in a handicap, which should suit. And on a career mark, career high mark, I should say, yes, admittedly. But as judged on his Newmarket win and also his Ascot 2nd from earlier on in the season, that still makes this mark of 105 look suitable for him. So I just hope he can bounce back to form. Like I say, I hope it's not going to be too quick for him, but I'm still getting enough of a price just to chance that he is returning to his best. So Biggles for me,
Hickory, please.
And Sam.
Bless him.
Right, OK, 3 different selections. We knew that the agreement wouldn't last too long on this show, as ever, would it? But do let us know your own selections for the race in the comment section below as we move on to our next race. And it is the feature of the weekend, the Group 1 Sun Chariot for the 3-year-olds and over a mile at 3:15 at Newmarket, where Inspiral goes again and is a pretty short price favourite at the head of the market after bouncing back to form last time out. But Sam, are we trusting her at that price to do the same again?
Leap of faith, isn't it? But I'm actually prepared to take that leap of faith and back her. I think the 3 runs this season have been intriguing, haven't they? We've now got just a shade of odds on there, and you look through that field. As much as she's not bomb-proof, I think I'd be open enough to say that. I just didn't find anything that I thought was up to her level if she's on a going day. You know, Meditate I've given so many chances to this season, and I just couldn't be interested at 15-2. I'd want a bigger price. Others in there, I just felt Inspiral. That return to form last time out at Deauville was good. The Goodwood run, you can absolutely put a line through it. I was amazed they ran the horse that day, if I'm completely honest with you. You know, she ended up last of 5, and obviously Paddington was a good winner of that race, but it was proper hard-going stuff. Yeah. And then we go back to the start of the season, and she was just beaten at Royal Ascot on her seasonal reappearance. So she's not done too much wrong for me. I do take the point that potentially she doesn't back up that well, and, you know, she's maybe been a little bit difficult to get right. But I thought in this field, around even money, I thought was a fair enough price. I wouldn't want to take any shorter than that current price we've got on the screen, but I felt like she was the most likely winner, and I am prepared to take maybe a small leap of faith with her. I think she'll back it up, especially with the ground conditions as well. We're going to get nice ground at Newmarket. I've got no worries about that.
Yeah, and I think that, like you say, around even money is probably a fair price because she is a horse that's going to completely divide opinion, Deck, 50-50, I'd say, for a play or a lay. What side of the camp were you in?
Yeah, no, I'm a play. I think she's a class above these. I really do. Look, to be fair, as her price suggests, you know, I'm hoping we get it. Maybe her and Lassie are both kind of taken on by the layers, and people want to get her beaten. Look, I think maybe people are going to hold her being beaten in the Falmouth last year at 1-7.
Yeah.
But like, she put up an astonishing performance in the Coronation, and it clearly left a mark. And the key to her now, I think, is being fresh, isn't it? So she comes here on the back of a 55-day break. That is absolutely perfect for her. And to my eye, she looks a class above these. I've got a lot of respect for the Andre Fabre trained filly, Marquise de Savigny. But I don't know, she's dropping back to 8 furlongs on quicker ground, having run over 10 on soft ground at Deauville last time out. On a speed favouring track like Newmarket, you know, I could see her being found out and tapped for toe for all. She's been in good order this season. And the other thing as well with Inspire, I think we've got to give the Gosden team a lot of praise. The last 3 runs, she's hit the lids and got out of the gates really well. The stalls have been a big issue for her earlier in her career, but they look to have sorted that out, and that's really helped her. The only thing is, like, there's a couple of horses in the field that like to go forward. I don't see a lot of pace, and I just think Inspiral really thrives off a good, even, strong pace because it helps her settle in it. It helps Frankie as well. There's a couple in there like Roman Mist and whatnot, and Random Harvest who like to go forward. I think she gets a good even gallop to run at. She'll eat these up, to be honest. And, you know, there was plenty of even money and a little bit bigger round earlier in the week. I think she's an odds-on shot against this field, and that's the way the market is going.
And her French form, we should just add as well, obviously got the better of Big Rock, who looks a really solid yardstick when you go back to the 3 lengths behind Ace Impact, who went on to win the Arc in the Prix de Jockey Club. So there's plenty to stack up to suggest that this season she's plenty good enough.
You two are chucking everything back at me, aren't you? It's almost as though you know I'm going to be going against you here, because Inspiral, at this stage, I think she is the most talented, evidently. But her price for me is reflective of that when I want to take her on, given the misses that she has had the last 2 seasons. We know that she still breaks slowly. And earlier on this campaign, I thought, oh, she doesn't look as in love with this game as she once was. And I thought her second on a reappearance was more testament to her ability when fresh. As you've just said, Dex, I was slightly disappointed she couldn't get the job done there. And then at Goodwood, yes, the conditions were attritional, but she never featured them whatsoever. So, and then obviously last time out, she went back to her beloved Deauville, winning the Jacques Le Malois for the 2nd year running. If she runs to that form, she'll be winning this with ground conditions to suit her. The track she's previously shown a real liking for as well. But if she has one of her off days at that price, I want to be taking her on. And the one to take her on with, I'm not going to make the same mistake of last weekend and abandon the French form, because I'm going to stick with it this time, Marquise de Savigny, mainly because I've learned to pronounce her name properly, being on this channel and having to talk about her successes that many times. And it was great to see that her success in the Group 1 Prix Rothschild was no fluke last time out, when winning again in the Group 1 Prix Jean Romanet. And it was said at the time that she was then being aimed at the QE2. So I think it's interesting that she comes here instead. She's a really progressive type. So at her current price, I feel like, again, we've got a bit of domestic bias about our own market here. Marquise de Savigny is a more solid type for me, but you two are both of Inspiral. Marquise de Savigny for me. Again, do let us know your own selections for the race in the comments section below, as we head over to the Skypad to take an early look at the QE2 on Champions Day at Ascot, as well as giving you our best bets for the weekend. Now, we're just over 2 weeks away from the Group 1 Queen Elizabeth II Stakes at Ascot, over a mile, and we look as though we're due a mouth-watering clash at this stage. Paddington, Nashua, Tahira, Chaldean, Triple Time. I mean, we've just got top-class names all over the place for this race, Sam, but what's the play at this stage?
Yeah, well, first of all, fingers crossed, let's hope they all turn up. It's always hard when we're previewing this anti-post, but the sounds have been good about the front 3 in the market that I think we're all going to end up discussing. But for me, Paddington's the shortest price, and I want to take him on. I've been a massive fan of him, but I think Tahira at the moment, I just wonder if she's going to come in here with arguably if you've looked at both horses' campaigns, Paddington's worked so hard this season, deservedly got so many plaudits for that. But Tahira obviously comes here to take on the boys, and she was so good last time out. And I just think they've built the season to crescendo towards this end of the season. It's a great time to be taking them on. I think she's had a very well thought out campaign. The only blemish on her record, you could argue, is obviously getting just touched off in the 1,000 Guineas on her seasonal reappearance, where the ground wasn't suitable, was it? I think she handles softer ground, but she prefers to be on top of the ground, which is what we think we're going to get on Champions Day for once, which is fantastic. Dermot Weld sounded so positive when he was talking about the horse. There's so much to like about her chances, and I think she'll end up a slightly closer price or go a favourite on the day. I just think the vibes, Paddington, he has had that tough season, and I know he's going to be freshened up, but I just wonder how fresh he's going to need to be to get the better of such a superstar filly.
So Sam taking on the Iron Horse then with the superstar filly from the Dermot Weld yard. Deck, where were you looking?
Yeah, I have the completely opposite view. I really think you should swap Tahira and Nashwa around in the markets. I think Nashwa's a big price. Look, I do my own ratings. It's something I enjoy doing. I've got Nashwa a £6-7 better horse than Tahira on what we've seen. Like, I love this filly. She's had an unbelievable 2023. You know, she could have an even better CV. She's been quite unlucky. I thought she was the best horse in the Nassau. I thought she was the best horse in the Irish Champion Stakes as well. And the key to her, I think, is tempo. She just travels so well. I think the drop to a mile is really going to suit her, especially when you've got the likes of Big Rock in here and Caldine, horses who like to go forward. As much as anything, I think it'll just make Holly Doyle's life a bit easier, just to help her settle her, because she's a strong travelling mare. I think the form is outstanding. And also, we shouldn't forget, she did finish ahead of Paddington in the Juddmonte. It looks like she's going to go here. We shouldn't forget John Gosson is looking to, and Thady Gosson are looking to win the trainer's title. She is in the Champion Stakes as well, and that's the only reason I can believe that she's priced up like she is, because in my mind she's a better filly than Ternawa on what we have seen. I cannot wait for her to get pelters for that one, but on what I've seen so far, I think Nash was a comfortably better filly than Tahira.
Okay, and over this trip as well, then you're happy with that too? So over the mile?
Absolutely, yeah. No, I think the tempo of a mile suits her well, stiff track, and like I said, Big Rock and Caldine probably going to key to her and Holly's chances, because there's going to be pace in the race.
Certainly so. Now, I thought this race was obviously brilliant to look at, and I really hope that we get the lineup that we're expecting. But it was also an absolute nightmare. This is like asking a parent to pick their favourite child. So many horses in here who have done me no end of favours this season. I mean, Paddington has just been an absolute warrior. Tahira, I've just sided with her basically blindly throughout the entirety of the season, and she hasn't let me down, well, bar first time out then. And then you've got Nashwa, who ran an absolute blinder for us in the Irish Champion Stakes last time out. So I thought it was an absolute nightmare on that basis. Eventually, I've come back around to Paddington to bounce back to his brilliant best. I really hope so. I don't think he was at his best last time out. You just said, Deck, that Nashwa did beat him over 10 furlongs at York in the Juddmonte International, but I don't think it was solely the trip that beat him there, but rather a fantastic ride on the winner Mostadaf, who made it a real test to suit him. The fact that Nashwa could run down Paddington made me feel that he wasn't at his best though, but of course Nashwa did do plenty for the form subsequently, but I just feel that an all-firing Paddington should be able to reverse that form, and probably over a more ideal trip as well of a mile for the QE2. Right, so we've got the first three in the betting there for us.
You're going to hope one of us wins the race.
Please God. Yeah, Paddington for me, Nashwa for Deck, and Tahira then for Sam. I mean, even if we just got those three, what a clash that would be. But of course, we will give you more insight and more previews then of the QE2 in due course. But to the more immediate future for our best bets of this weekend, Deck, back to you, please. Yes,
where are we going this week? We are going to Newmarket for the Nap, and it's going to be in the sales race there. Woodhay Wonder, I think, is overpriced at around 9-2, 5-1. I thought she was very impressive in the sales race on the July course last time out. The time and the sectional stood up very well with what Lazoo, an older horse, did in a listed race in the following race. Now, I should caveat that by saying it was a rain-affected card and they raced on different parts of the track. But if the time and the sectionals combination are legit, I think she'll take a bit of beating, even though we have a short price favourite in there. whatever the case, I do think she's still overpriced in what doesn't look a strong race. And the next best, they cannot call me a company man because I am going to Flemington live on Sky Sports tomorrow morning to the Turnbull Stakes, where the Simon and Ed Crisford West Wind Blow runs. I think he's got an outstanding each way chance in this race. Now, he does have to be the superstar Hong Kong horse and the Romantic Warrior, who is like, he is a proper horse and a good 10 furlong horse. But the conditions of the race, for some reason, in a Group 1, mean West Wind Blows gets £5 from him, and the Hong Kong horse hasn't run in a long time. West Wind Blows goes there hard fit off the back of a good season where he's progressed, and by all accounts, it seems like he's settled in well as well. 10 furlongs around Flemington might be a little bit sharp for him, but they've had quite a lot of rain there. But it is a really fast-drying track. I hope it doesn't dry out too much. But either way, in a race full of ex-Euros, I think West Wind Blows has got an outstanding each-way chance. And then the long shot, we're going to go for May Wake, again live on Sky Sports Racing on Saturday in the Howden Challenge. This guy was really impressive last time out at Sandown. He absolutely bolted up. Again, his sectional stood up well with what Aublan did in the Solario of the Charlie Appleby team. Now, I do realise he's a 5-year-old and the Appleby horse was a 2-year-old, but still, I thought it was a strong performance, especially given he was carrying significantly more weight. I think the straight track at Ascot over 7 furlongs, if he gets some pace to run at, will really suit him because he's a strong travelling horse who just lengthens. So if the sectionals of that race are correct, I think he's overpriced and can run well.
OK, I just like the fact that you've gone to Flemington. This show is international, very much so.
I couldn't believe it myself, but a winner is I'll go anywhere for a winner, basically.
Exactly, even halfway across the world in a race full of expats, so plenty of intrigue clearly in that. Sam, are you looking quite as far afield or closer to home? Closer
to home. And one of my favourite flat horses, older flat horses, runs at Ascot. That's going to be my nap to kick us off. Emirati Anna, really interesting to see that this horse heads back down in trip. And I went back through the form book, and the last couple of runs over 5 furlongs, or 5.5, I suppose, at Breeders' Cup and also in the Nunthorpe, yielded pretty positive results without winning. 2-1 in this kind of grade. I kind of just had to be with him. Like I say, it's interesting he goes back down a trip, but he's shown plenty of spark on his last 2 starts to suggest he should be there or thereabouts. 2-1 looks a very fair price, I thought. In Spiral, we've touched on her chances and why Dec and I both think she's a good thing. Fingers crossed she can back up that Deauville run. I'm just confident enough that the form is there, Kate, and I hope you're wrong. And then Bless Him's going to be my long shot, 16-1 there, in a very competitive handicap. But he's been there, done it, got the T-shirt, and he's back down to, I think, an attractive mark. He's actually down to go down another £1. So be interested to see how he gets on. But like I say, ground versatile, so I don't need to worry if Ascot isn't as quick as I think it will be, which it should be.
16-1 about Bless Him. But yeah, we're going to have to see how the ground is going to play out. But at least you've got one that is versatile. Now, my own best bets for the weekend, my nap is going to be Al Azi, where, as I said earlier on, I basically feel that I'm chancing him to just run his race. I think he's the horse with the most ability. This is a good spot for him as well. He's the class act in the field, yet he is getting £2 from Isra. He's really come into his own in his last 3 runs, where I think he should be 3 from 3 coming into this race, so he can make amends for his defeat last time out here, and we all agree on him at least. My next best bet is Morning Poem in the 130 at Newmarket, which is a Premier Fillies handicap over 10 furlongs. Now, I was really toying between her and Whispering Words before the prices came out, so I let price therefore dictate me when I'm getting 10-1 about Morning Poem rather than around 100 to 30 about the favourite. So I'd rather go for the bigger price horse. Morning Poem gets the call. Just for sole start this season, she was 8th of 14 in a really good looking renewal of the listed John Musker Filly Stakes at Yarmouth. The hot favourite Alasifa disappointed in that, but the winner was still a really smart one in Sapphire Seas. That was on the back of a 13-month absence, so I don't think Morning Poem was disgraced at all. £9 above her last winning mark, which came on handicap debut, but she dotted up in that, backed it up with a good second next time out off of a £1 lower mark than this. And the first time cheap pieces coming forwards for that reappearance should hopefully suit Morning Poem. And my long shot also goes in the same race as yours, Sam. Bit of a cop-out, really, at 12-1 for Biggles. I hope the ground doesn't quicken up all that much for him in the Challenge Cup Heritage Handicap. This is his time of year to make hay over his favourite trip. And I think that he can be forgiven for last time out with the 6-day turnaround heading into it, returning to handicap company should suit. Right, that is everything from us on this week's show. A big thank you to Deck and to Sam for all of their hard work as per usual. A big thank you to you at home for watching. Remember that you can watch all of Ascot's action live on Sky Sports Racing. We'll be back at the same time next week for this show, where we have a mix of jump and flat action. We have the Dewhurst meeting at Newmarket, as well as Chepstow seasonal opener. And as well as that, we're also going to be taking more looks ahead to Champions Day, which is only 2 weeks away.